This evening we have with us Baisakhi Saha, an award-winning international speaker, writer and globetrotter. From being a computing graduate to a marketing executive to a German interpreter, English teacher, Spanish translator to now an author and performer. Mysterious coincidences have led her from one place to another, contriving her to live her destiny, to live a legacy. She was born in Kolkata and she has spent the early part of her life in different states of India. She is multilingual and can speak 6 languages. But then Baisakhi left home at the tender age of 17 to pursue higher studies. Since then, she has dwelled in different continents from Asia to Europe to Africa to South America to North and Central America, studying life through mirrors of reality. She has recently authored a book. But this book narrates the magical adventures and marvelous encounters of an ordinary girl who believes in extraordinary possibilities as she traverses the globe to fulfill her destiny. Life is Abracadabra is peppered with true anecdotes of hope and faith, of meaningful coincidences and miracles that will make you perceive life from an altogether new dimension. I think I'll start my discussion from here, Baisakhi. Meaningful coincidences and miracles. And life is abracadabra. So how do you relate the two?
Well, that's a great place to start because the word abracadabra in Hebrew, it means I shall create as I speak. So literally, when we were kids, we used to read fairy tales and the Ali Baba story where Ali Baba goes to this door and he says, "Open sesame," and the door opens. Or Aladdin rubs the magic lamp and the genie comes out and says, "Your wish is my command." So can life actually be that kind of magic? So I have lived all over the world, as you just introduced. And during these trips across the globe, I had some really magical encounters. Sometimes life-threatening situations or some hurdles which were impossible to overcome. There were times I was sure I was going to die, like there was no way I would survive something that was happening. But then the universe or God or cosmos, I don't know, whatever you call it, it just took me out of that situation in a way that is not conceivable. So that's why I call it abracadabra, because there is something working in the background that we may not be always aware of and that wants us to fulfill our destinies, if only we would have the courage to pursue our inner calling and work on the purpose that we have come here for, which is unique for everybody. So during my travels, they could have been just normal travels. But during those normal travels, I had extraordinary experiences. They were so magical that I felt compelled. In fact, I saw it in a dream that I need to write this book and I need to write these stories. Now, this book has 21 magical stories from my travels across the globe.
Are they all true?
They are all true stories, of course, and they all happened with me.
Why do you call them magical?
They are magical because they are the abracadabra kind of story, that something that you cannot understand how it happened, but it happened.
But you believe there's a purpose in everything that happened?
Yes. Why? I'll tell you that. Because we come here on earth, each of us, with an agenda. Now, you may think, what is that? But that agenda we know in our hearts. So when we allow our hearts to speak to us, I call it the path of the heart. We will know what is our path when we can take the courage. We can have the courage to walk that path. And it is in alignment with our desires. Why? Because feelings are the language of our soul. So feelings are like an internal compass and it works very closely with our emotions. And emotions are like an internal compass that guides us. So when we take a wrong path or wrong decision in life, we will feel it inside. Now, if we...
if I may cut you here.
Yes, sure.
You're talking about decisions, wrong and right. So you had to take a decision long back and pretty early in life.
Yes.
Going away first from your country and then from there all around the world. So,
Right.
Did you then envision that, life is going to take this turn?
No. You cannot see the whole path. See, that is the thing, that the universe will reveal one step at a time. But when the step comes to you, when that opportunity arrives, you will know it if you have been preparing for it, if you have been dreaming about it. But if you haven't been doing that, if you are just following what you have been told, let's say your mom says you have to study engineering, or dad says you have to be a doctor, and you try to please them instead of listening to what you came here for, you will not be ready for that opportunity when life will present it to you. Nevertheless, life will still present it to you. And I call that synchronicities. Now, synchronicity is something that you cannot explain. It has no causal connection, but it comes to you as a sign, as an opportunity. And if you don't take an action when it comes to you, it will pass you by without creating a single ripple, because it will not interfere with your free will. But if you notice it, if you take action, then another synchronicity will happen, and another, and another. And before you know it, you have a personal store of intelligence where you are navigating life and having like a two-way communication with the universe.
Like it's written here, I think people are afraid to dream because they don't want to be disappointed. But what if there was a way to co-create our dreams with the universe? And what if the universe responded to us in a tangible way? What do you mean by a tangible way?
So it's physical. It's a way that you can see it. So I will give you an example of this from my own life story. So during my travels, I was experiencing these intense signs and synchronicities, and I was confused because I was alone and I was living in some of the most dangerous countries in the world, like Nigeria and Venezuela, where they just kill you, murder you on the streets and stuff. And I was having this magical experience where danger had transcended into magic for me. And at the time, I was writing these things down, and I wrote that for 3 years until one day I felt a very strong calling to publish it into a book. But I was very scared because I didn't want anybody to know what I was experiencing personally. So I asked God to give me a sign, like give me a sure sign that I will not miss. So that day I was teaching English at a local institution in Costa Rica. And just half an hour ago, I asked for a sign, and one of my students, I was teaching modal verbs like may, might, can, could. So this student, she said, teacher, she raised her hand and she said, teacher, can I give an example? I said, go ahead. She said, the teacher must have written a book. And I had no idea, because we were not talking about books. We were not talking about teacher writing a book. And she said that, and for a second I was dumbfounded, because what I had written for the last 3 years was what I was contemplating, whether to turn it into a book or not. But our minds are doubtful. So immediately I dismissed it as a mere coincidence. 2 days later, I was teaching the same group, another verb form, this time present perfect and past tense. So again, the same student in the same class, she was like, teacher, can I give an example? And I said, go ahead. And she said, the teacher has written a book, present perfect. And then she said, the teacher wrote a book, past tense. Now I'm like, why is she always saying teacher has written a book? So it's a book that is already written. She could have said Pamela wrote a book or Sam wrote a book. So once you ignore it.
That is really tangible, I think.
It is.
Right.
And here is the magic part of it, because my first book is called magicNine. It is about the number 9, how it was guiding me on my path. And this was a level 9 class. We were sitting in a room. The room number was 207. And all multiples of 9 add up to a 9. So 2 plus 7 was a 9. And the class timings were like from 6:30 to 9 p.m. So all the 9s were coming together. So I knew that the sign was very, very accurate. And after publishing the book, my whole life changed. So I was a teacher teaching somewhere in Latin America. From there, I became an author and a speaker, and the same institutions and universities where I used to teach, they now started inviting me as a guest speaker, as an author. And my whole life took an about turn because I listened to those nuances, to those nudges of the universe.
Yeah,
if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't published that book, then today I wouldn't be here, and life is abracadabra.
You've written here that
wouldn't
people are afraid to dream because they don't want to be disappointed.
Yes.
So you've been listening to your dreams. How early, like, you started dreaming, and what about the struggle, to achieve that dream or to work towards the dream?
See, struggle will always be there. One of the main reasons is that we need to experience ourselves as the heroes of our own lives. So if there is no struggle, if there is no challenge, we will not be satisfied with the success that we get ultimately. So, we should never be afraid of struggles or challenges. We should look at it as an opportunity on our path. And so many times it happened, like one of the first stories in the book, it says how failure made my dreams manifest. So I actually failed in a subject, and before failing that subject, I kept having a recurring dream that same morning of the exam, that I should not take the exam, that the exam was cancelled, and I kept having that recurring dream over and over and over again. And suddenly I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I have an exam and I have to go. So I went to the exam hall. I was late, my mind went blank, I couldn't write anything, and I failed the subject. And because I failed it, I had to extend 1 semester in my university. And throughout my 4 years of university, I had never failed a subject. But this was a core subject that I failed in my last semester. And because of that, so at the time I was in Asia, in Singapore, and my big dream was to go to Europe because I was also learning German, and we had a lot of German students in our university. But I neither had the money nor the opportunity to go there. So I used to take my books during the exam times, go to the airport and wave at all the planes that would go by. And I would be like, ask Europe to prepare for my welcome. I'm coming there.
Carrying your messages.
Exactly. And then what happened, because I failed that subject, the next semester I was only doing 1 subject. So I received this email from a university in Switzerland that we were going to write an essay, and if our essay is selected, then we would win an all expense paid trip to Europe. And the moment I saw that email, like even before I wrote the essay anything, I knew what that dream had meant. I knew that I was going to win this trip, and that is why I had failed that subject, because I needed to have a student status, and this symposium happened only in this part of the year. So if I had graduated the previous semester, then I wouldn't have had the student
this
status.
This opportunity never would have come.
It would have never come.
Failures are the pillars of success.
Exactly.
So true. Yeah.
Successive failures take you to success.
Right. Exactly.
And I won an all expense paid trip to Europe. And my dream was fulfilled. And when I came back from Europe, I was like, I don't want to stop here. But I had a bond in Singapore.
Is magic.
Yes, and you know how the magic carried me from there, because I was stuck in Singapore. I was supposed to work there for 6 years, and nobody, like I had a scholarship there, so nobody could escape the bond legally. I was the only person who managed to escape it legally only because the universe helped me. And this story is also in the book. It's called Freedom from Bond. So once I came back from Europe, I went to Africa, and then South America, and then Central America, and then North America. And in each of these continents, I lived for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, until finally, I reached Costa Rica. So, that is the magic.
Baisakhi, after summing up all what you've said, it's truly amazing. You're an amazing person. But then I would like to know from you a message to the younger generation,
right.
People who would love to follow their dreams but are, held back.
Right.
Sometimes for maybe limitations from the family, from the society, anything it could be. So any message to the youngsters?
Yes, I have one sentence, and if you listen to it carefully, you will get the magic. Magic only happens to those who can make it real in their imaginations. Imagination is your source code. It's your divine gift. You can create hell and heaven in your imagination. And whatever you create, it manifests. So if you really believe in your dreams, you imagine it, right? You believe it. You live in the end. You believe that the dream is already achieved. And then you go backwards. You first create the castle in the air, then you build the steps. So if you can live in that continuous state of creating magic in your imagination, soon you will start seeing how the universe brings up opportunities in front of you. And you cannot miss it, because if you miss one opportunity, the universe will bring another one, because it will try to match the picture in your imagination.
Lovely. That is an ideal way to end this discussion today, Baisakhi. And I'm really amazed listening to your answers to all what you've said this evening. And well, it's one thing maybe we gathered from the discussion today is that build the castles in the air. Okay,
and then create the foundation.
Then create the foundation.
Because without the castle, you don't know where you are going.
Right. So keep on dreaming, keep on
Thank
building
you.
the castles, and life will present its opportunities to you as you build the castles and as you walk towards your dream, right?
Yes, and please get the book Life is Abracadabra, because it will show you through real stories, real adventures, real magic, how it all comes true.
Thank you so much, Baisakhi, for being with us this evening. Looking forward to seeing you once again.
Thank you,
so much.
Sharmista. I had a great time chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.